We all know you can't judge a book by its cover, but can you judge it by the first paragraph? Today, we're going to find out. Whoever you are, I'm Josh. I hope you're happy and healthy. And today, we're going to be doing this challenge that I was tagged in by Brian over at Adventures in Literature. He's awesome. Check him out. I'm going to link him somewhere in this vicinity. And today, we're going to have these 5 books here. These are books I haven't read that I have in my possession, and we're going to read the first paragraph of each, and I'm going to rank them based on how interesting I think they seem based off that paragraph, and whichever one ends up being the number one, the most interesting, according to my brain at this moment, is going to be the next book that I read. So this will be a fun kind of exercise, way to introduce myself to all these books, and it also makes my decision way easier of whatever I'm going to read next. As always, let me know if you've read any of these. I haven't really talked with anyone about any of them except for the second one, but so I'm excited to see if other people have opinions on them, how they feel about these books and these authors. So let's get right into it. First book I have here is The Savage Detectives by Roberto Bolaño. This is a book I mentioned in a previous video as something I'm really excited to read. I don't actually know what it's about. I think it's kind of dark comedy. That's what I've heard, but I actually have no idea about the plot, so we're going to find that out today. Let's read the first paragraph. I've been cordially invited to join the Visceral Realists. I accepted, of course. There was no initiation ceremony. It was better that way. I mean, short and sweet, short and to the point. This is written in like dates, like almost diary entries. Like that was just the first date in the diary entry. So interesting kind of structure. I mean, I'm invested. I don't know if visceral realism is like an established movement that's like very, notable in literature history that people know about. I'm not familiar with it, so I don't know anything about what visceral realism means other than just the meanings of those 2 words that I know. So I'm hoping that'll be interesting to discover. I'm always into learning about new kind of styles and the history behind them. So, I mean, I'm pretty invested. I mean, other people might think that's a boring start, but I'm pretty invested based on that. So I would say that'll probably be middle of the road to slightly above middle of the road, but you never know. Second book right here is a popular one. I have Paper Towns by John Green. I got this as a gift. I never read it when I feel like most people read it in like middle school, early high school. So excited to dive into it. I think it's a romance. It's a romance, right? I'm not insane. I think it's a romance. It has to be. So that's a genre I don't typically read. So this will be a good kind of branching out experience for me. So let's read the first paragraph. The way I figure it, everyone gets a miracle. Like, I'll probably never be struck by lightning, or win a Nobel Prize, or become the dictator of a small nation in the Pacific Islands, or contract terminal ear cancer, or spontaneously combust. But if you consider all the unlikely things together, at least one of them will probably happen to each of us. I could have seen it rain frogs. I could have stepped foot on Mars. I could have been eaten by a whale. I could have married the Queen of England or survived months at sea. But my miracle was different. My miracle was this. Out of all the houses in all the subdivisions in all of Florida, I ended up living next door to Margot Roth Spiegelman. I'm familiar with John Green from like YouTube and, Crash Course when I was in classes in high school. So, I mean, I know him and I feel like I can hear him in this style. It's very kind of like funny and, wordy, almost like just going off on these thought tangents that are just endearing for some reason. I mean, we're clearly setting up, main character and how important this other character Margot is to them in their life. It seems pretty charming from that first paragraph. I think I'm slightly more lured in by the mystery of the Savage Detectives and like not knowing anything about it, but I'm gonna leave the kind of ranking part to the end. We will see. Good start, Paper Towns. Yes. Third book of the 5 we have here, it's A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. This is a book that I think my grandmother told me she likes. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. Ewan McGregor, I think, was in the movie or TV adaptation. I know Ewan McGregor was the lead in some adaptation of this, and I love Ewan McGregor, so maybe I can read this and love it and then watch the movie too. So let's read the first paragraph of A Gentleman in Moscow. At 6:30 on the 21st of June, 1922, when Count Alexander Ilyich Rostov was escorted through the gates of the Kremlin onto Red Square, it was glorious and cool. Drawing his shoulders back without breaking stride, the Count inhaled the air like one fresh from a swim. The sky was the very blue that the cupolas of St. Basil's had been painted for. Their pinks, greens, and golds shimmered as if it were the sole purpose of a religion to cheer its divinity. Even the Bolshevik girls conversing before the windows of the State Department store seemed dressed to celebrate the last days of spring. So lots of beautiful imagery there. I mean, a foreign land, kind of, to me, a summer day. I mean, a count. That's immediately kind of interesting. 1922. I love period stuff. So this has a lot that's calling to me, if I'm honest. I don't really know that much about the plot, but just kind of based on that imagery and the kind of halls of power almost type thing. I mean, he just came out of the Kremlin. He's clearly someone of some importance. I'm very interested in where this book has to go. I wasn't immediately kind of gripped by like a hook where they kind of hint at the plot or some problem or mystery to come, but definitely the style is drawing me in for sure. Fourth book, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. I read The Old Man and the Sea a couple months ago. I really liked Hemingway's kind of style and his way of just describing kind of a foreign country, and I know this is another book where he's gonna have to do that. I'm pretty sure it takes place in Spain. That sounds right to me. So yeah, excited to kind of dive into more Hemingway and see what he has to offer. Let's read the first paragraph of The Sun Also Rises. Robert Cohn was once middleweight boxing champion of Princeton. Do not think that I'm very much impressed by that as a boxing title, but it meant a lot to Cohn. He cared nothing for boxing. In fact, he disliked it, but he learned it painfully and thoroughly to counteract the feeling of inferiority and shyness he had felt on being treated as a Jew at Princeton. I like this paragraph's kind of ability to get us an idea of a character in only a few sentences. Like, I know from this paragraph that Robert Cohn kind of has this chip on his shoulder from being a Jew in this time period, and he's also someone with the work ethic to kind of grind out something even if he doesn't enjoy it, if he thinks it'll benefit him in the future. He's kind of stubborn, he's a little bit insecure, but he has this kind of drive behind him, and that's, I think, a powerful image of a character to give us in just a couple sentences, and sentences that don't directly say that. So as always, I love Hemingway's style to kind of be simple and give us what we need to know, even if he doesn't have to say it outright. I'm not necessarily super hooked since I don't know anything else about the guy, but as a stylistic paragraph, I love it. As a hook, maybe it doesn't have me as much, but I'm sure I would love this book if I were to read it. Fifth and final book here, we have the classic, the legendary 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a book that I got in high school and still haven't read. I've been very lazy about it, so I'm very excited to kind of dive back in and get a feel for this author who I feel like is almost mythical at this point. So let's read the first paragraph. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. At that time, Macondo was a village of 20 adobe houses, built on the bank of a river of clear water that ran along a bed of polished stones, which were white and enormous like prehistoric eggs. The world was so recent that many things lacked names, and in order to indicate them, it was necessary to point. Alright, I mean, the firing squad lead-in is already great hook. The imagery is beautiful. The world was so recent that things lack names, and to indicate them, it was necessary to point. That's just an awesome sentence. I love that sentence. This is going to be very high up on the list. All right, so ranking. I think I'm going to go with The Sun Also Rises at 5. Not because I didn't like it. I liked all of these. I know about this one character, but I don't kind of get any hint at the broader story. And it's also worth mentioning that the paragraph was longer than just what I read. I just kind of tried to make the amount of sentences that I read even throughout all the books to give them a kind of fair chance to express themselves, because if one book has a paragraph that's multiple pages long and now I'm more invested, that just felt a little unfair. So coming in at 4, I'm going to go with Paper Towns. This is something that I think I would still like to read. I mean, I liked all of these, again, as I said. I get a good feel for kind of the importance of this Margot character in the main character's life. I don't know a ton about either of them, other than that it's probably going to be a romance at some point. So just based on how invested it managed to get me instantly, it's going to be 4. But again, sounds like something I would enjoy. So I will be reading this eventually. At 3, it's A Gentleman in Moscow. Again, the style, the rich, beautiful summer imagery, the sense of kind of importance of the character in this book. It sucked me in for sure. So it's no kind of insult to this book that it's at number 3. It's just a compliment to the other 2. Number 2, I'm going with 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's, again, just the style is so rich. That thing about the world being so recent that things need to be pointed at because they don't have names. The firing squad, the colonel. So again, sense of importance. It's just a rich history waiting to like brim over. And I can't wait to kind of dive into it. So then obviously at number 1, I have The Savage Detectives by Roberto Bolaño. This is, I know it was only a few lines, but visceral realism, the kind of choppy style it was written, the simplicity, the hinting at more, the kind of formatting with the diary entries with dates. It just made me feel like I'm about to read something special and different than what I've read before. And that, to me, is worth more almost than anything when I'm starting a book. So this was the one that got me the most excited, and this is going to be the next book that I read. So hopefully then we can chat about how much I loved it and what it meant to me. So yeah, that's about all I have. These are the 5 books I was looking at, and The Savage Detectives is the one that I will be reading next. This was a fun way for me to kind of get a taste of books, because sometimes I do struggle with choosing what I'm going to read next, and I feel like it has to be this big decision, but sometimes you just get a snippet and then you dive in if you like it. I hope you guys are doing well, eating well, sleeping enough, just taking care of yourselves, reading if that's something that's important to you. Getting into the nice weather. I'm out for runs more often, which is really, really exciting for me. Feeling good about where I am, and I hope you're feeling the same about where you are. So I'm gonna go get started on not this book, but the ones I'm reading now so I can get to this book, and I will see you guys next week.